Well, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome. Thank you for joining this first session of Humanitarian Heroes, Voices from the Frontline. I am Kaveh Khoshnood, a faculty member at the Yale School of Public Health and director of the Peace Lab. The Peace Lab focuses on public health consequences of war, displacement, and structural inequity. It brings together research, teaching, mentorship, and partnership to generate evidence for humanitarian action, health equity, and peace building. We are pleased to partner with our colleagues at the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative to launch this podcast series. The idea behind this series is, I'm going to say simple, but very important. Each month, we create space for someone who's doing humanitarian work in some of the world's most difficult settings. We listen to what they have seen, what they have learned, and what they carry with them. Today, we will begin with Ismail Alabdullah, who spent years working with Syria's White Helmets. Please join me in welcoming him, and I'd like to pass it over now to my colleague, Dr. Iman Saleh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaveh, and welcome everyone. I'm glad you are here for the first session of Humanitarian Heroes, Voices from the Frontlines. This is the first session, and we're glad to have you, Ismail Alabdullah. Over the coming months, as Kaveh mentioned, we'll meet humanitarian from Syria, Somalia, Haiti, Sudan, and more. And each month, a different host maybe will lead the conversation. The host may change, but one thing stays the same: the story that matters, told by the person who lived it. This series is possible because of partners who believe in these stories: the Aurora Humanitarian Initiatives, Health Tech Without Borders, the Ground AI, the Path for Global Health, alongside with the Peace Lab that's led by Dr. Khoshnood. Thank you all. And today, let me just give a brief intro about our guest, and we'll hear from him. So, Ismail is Syrian humanitarian leader and former senior member of the White Helmet. And I think he told me that he's still working for them. So that was a mistake. He helped lead rescue missions that saved lives under bombardment, part of a wider effort that saved more than 128,000 people from the front lines of Aleppo to the global media. He has worked to tell the truth of the war and to bring the world's attention to the people of Syria. His works stands for humanity, justice, and accountability. Ismail, thank you for being here today. It's an honor to have you with us. And I have your impressive biography in front of me, but I think our audience would much rather hear from your story from you in your own words than me. Can you take us back to the beginnings? How did this journey start for you? What have been the defining moments along the way? And perhaps most important, what kept you going through years of danger, loss, uncertainty while continuing to serve people?
Thank you so much, Iman. Thank you so much, Kev, and everyone. Thank you. Many thanks for Aurora Initiative, Humanitarian Initiative. Let me start something from 13 years ago. Who are the White Helmets? How they became known for the world, for the everyone maybe who was following the Syria uprising. It started when after the peaceful demonstrations took the streets in Syria in 2011, 15 years ago. After the peaceful demonstrations, the regime, Assad regime, the fallen regime, opened fire on those peaceful protesters. And after some months from that time, the regime started to use mortars, warplanes, bombings, and many different, and something unbelievable that regime used it to kill civilians in that time. The White Helmet or Syria Civil Defense SCD, they started in that time, and I one of the first guys in that time who started this without a name, without any equipment, without anything. What happened that we as individuals, as uh, persons, we started to respond to the attacks. And this is what happened to me in the first time, in that time, 13 or 14 years ago, when our market in my city in Aleppo was targeted. My response was out of human nature to respond. And I responded. I ran and hold little girl who was injured, and I took her to the hospital. This is how we started. We started as reaction to the violence and violations of the of human rights that regime carried out in that time by killing and shooting and destroying this. This is the white helmets, normal people, ordinary people who started this without any support, without with limited equipment, primitive equipment, if we can say, started this to respond to save people from under rubble. This started in March in 2013. Then we acquired experience day by day because the bombing was intensive at that time. Then our small clips went viral in the world. People who started calling us white helmets. We didn't say that we are white helmets. The people around the world started to call us white helmets after they saw the operations, after this rescue operations, after many or hundreds of rescue operations that happened at that time. This is the white helmets, and as Ismail, I was one of those members. Before the uprising, I was a teacher. Then, out of my, I joined and volunteered at that time since the beginning. This is the story of the white helmets. To get back to your question, what I learned or what the moments I can say after those years, since 2011, 2013, we started the white helmets until the fall of the regime, December 2024. I can say what was maybe those who work in the humanitarian field and they do this every day. Those people can understand me more than those who and during the journey, during this mission from 2013 until now, it wasn't like moments, it wasn't like experience, it was feeling you know, sometimes if you will risk your life and you will do everything you could, maybe will not be enough to save someone. And this is what I learned over the past years. This is the experience, this, or I can say the feeling. Uh, this I experienced this feeling during the earthquake. I also during Aleppo siege. In that time, the Helsh bombing. No one can believe how the bombing was every day in Aleppo city, and it was under siege. People were dying every minute, every second, and it was like square to test all weapons from different the Assad regime and its allies, including the Russia army in that time. People were dying. Were as we spoke in that during that time, me and all volunteers, all the people at that time, we did everything we could, but we left people behind because we couldn't reach them. We did our best, but we couldn't reach them because of many reasons: limited equipment, time, bombing. I don't know if people are aware of something called the double tap strike. The double tap strike, as white helmets, the rescue teams, after the attack from after any attack, there's the teams rush and they immediately move to the location to save people who are in need for medical services or to transport them to other or evacuate people. During this sequence, during this time, another attack deliberately they attack the same location that that teams are moving and rushing to that location. This is one of the reasons why we couldn't save everyone. We tried and we did it our best since 2013 until we were evacuated, displaced from Aleppo city to the north. Also in the north, after the bombing that was happening in all northwest Syria, until we even the earthquake. The earthquake was very, very, very tough experience. Very, it was different because the scale of destruction was very, very big, and it was behind our capacity. So what I learned that even if you would do your best and you in your mind and in your deep down you want to save everyone, maybe you will not be able to save everyone. Maybe you will lose your life, but it's not enough, and will be frustrated that you couldn't save everyone, and this will be in your heart, in your mind always. You will not forget this. Maybe it will haunt you. It's not your fault. It's not, but this is the humanitarian field. You'll do everything you can. You'll do what you have to do, but you will not be able to save everyone.
Thank you so much, Ismail, for sharing all this. This must be very much heavy. And as you mentioned, with all the tools and capacity you have, you did your best to save as much as you can, you and your colleague, the volunteers, rescuing your life, saving some, but always because as long as the war is ongoing, you cannot really help or save everyone. You just can do your best. And yeah, you have witnessed like a lot of difficult times. You have lived them, went through them. Thank you for sharing that. If you can tell me, how did you balance documenting the tragedy for the world to see while also coping with your own loss and trauma and this all this burden you have shared?
Uh, when you feel and see, you feel and see and watch people how they are suffering, and you compare yourself as a savior, as a rescuer with the other people, and you will, and anyone when you when you see a girl, like little girl, crying out for her mother that who is under rubble, and also mothers crying out for her children, and the father coming to you and saying that my son is under rubble. I can hear his voice. I can, please help me. And all this, all this, if you can get this picture in your mind, imagine this situation. This is what keeps you going, helping other people and seeing people suffering. So, uh, documenting and reporting to the world the truth was on the side, and the other side, the main side, was helping people. You can why I'm reporting. I kept reporting every day what's happening in all Syria since 2011 until the fall of the regime, because I want the world to pay attention to the Syrian people, how they were being killed every day. And I was one of those who in Aleppo city, who the city was they called the most dangerous city in the world, maybe in 2015 or 2014. I was there, and this was one of my mission in that time, to report what's happening. People who were running to provide bread for their families, for their children, were killed by snipers. Those who were living, sleeping in the night, just one sleep, the barrel bombs they were falling on their heads, and no space safe. Also, people who were trying to flee Aleppo in that time, they were also targeted on their roads, and the roads out of Syria, out of Aleppo. So, the yourself, yeah, you will feel guilty. Why we feel guilty? Because you need to work more, to provide more, to save more, to do everything you could to help. On the other side, you will need to keep calling and reporting. And this, after those years, I can say we succeeded in paying attention to Syria. We reached people of over the world. We made the voices of those fragile victims and weak victims, their voices heard by many, many thousands of people around the world. Their people gathered and said, "Save Aleppo" in that time, and there are thousands of people stand by our side during the earthquake and all, and many times over the past years. What kept me reporting is because I saw and I believed reporting about Syria and what was happening, reporting on daily basis was something something helping other people in saving lives. In the way I can say, reporting saved also saving Syrians' life from under bombing and killing. On the other hand, on the field, we kept, me and my colleagues at that time, to rescue every day and to respond. This is I balanced this reporting and the saving from the ground, because in both ways we were saving our people.
Thank you for sharing this and showing how your work was centered around people, you and your colleagues, while also documenting and keep the evidence and also draw the attention to the Syrian people. So you have talked about the 2023 earthquake response, and many volunteers, they said that the destruction was not like anything else they have seen. What did this disaster taught you about the resilience and preparedness?
The earthquake that happened in 2023 in Syria and Turkey, maybe it was one of the devastated natural disasters that happened to Syria maybe over the 100 years. I don't know. What was the difference and how we being part of the rescue operation over since 2013 until the earthquake. This all the experience that we have over the past year helped us in working and rescuing people in that during the earthquake. Uh, it was different. Yeah, the earthquake was different because at the same time there are many sites, many buildings at the same time. Hundreds of people were under the rubble at that time, at the same time, and we were trained. We were our limited number of volunteers that we deal like with 5, 10 buildings at the same time, but it was is it the buildings that were collapsed, the building that collapsed, scattered on North Syria, not just in Idlib or Elbo. It's scattered in many buildings. The experience that we have from rescue operation during the bombing before the earthquake helped us, yes, and we have experience in dealing with such uh, context that buildings that collapsed on people. Uh, but it was different. It was behind our capacity. This is one of the, I can say, the time that the feeling that came to me and during the earthquake. We stayed in the streets from first second of the earthquake until maybe 5 or the 6th day of the earthquake. We couldn't save everyone. We couldn't. We needed in that time equipment. We needed advanced equipment. We needed many things, but we were ignored. No one responded to us. And that time, me and we we said and reported this to everyone that Syria at that time needed help. We couldn't save everyone. We left people behind because of limit of the equipment. Volunteer, there's something called precious hours after the earthquake. You can save after 27 hours. After that, the chances will be low. Then, uh, yeah, it was very difficult experience. We did everything we could. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And I just want to follow up on this. Like, there were already ongoing war, and then the natural disaster happened. If you can tell us, like, also how does people, stakeholders, partners, and even the communities like came together, and how did you uh, all like work together for that, despite that the need was very much big and what you have was not enough to satisfy that need?
Yeah, as you said, the community came together in that time. Not just the white helmets, all people, civilians, and all the community. There are many civilians that gave us in that time the keys of their cars that if you to help us. Some uh, the doctors were in the field. This happened in one of the cities north of Aleppo, in Jandar city. There was a difficult case at that time. Team worked for 12 hours to save a girl. They reached the moment that they needed medical intervention, and the doctors were there, then beside our volunteers and that engineers, and they helped to save her, but they amputed her leg in failed operation. Uh, uh, all the community came together, and this is an example. Also, many examples about this that they helped uh, in temporary shelters. They provided everything. The organization that operate in relief field, medical field, psychological field, civilians, normal civilians also helped. I can say kind of this disasters can make the community come together. And this has happened really in Syria.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that community themselves, they stood and they were supporting who came to help them. And I want to remind also our audience they can leave questions on the chat or the Q&A so we can tackle them at the end. We cannot talk about humanitarian work without talking about politics. So humanitarian works often happen amidst political controversy, misinformation. So how did you keep the trust and the credibility while telling the stories of affected communities?
Yeah, the white helmets have big experience in misinformation and disinformation. This happened from the very beginning, uh, since 2013, 2014, until the fall of the regime. This happened because the white helmets, there were maybe all the only witnesses on the crimes that committed by the Assad's forces and Russia at that time. Why? Because we, as volunteers, white helmets volunteers, we had the GoPro cameras on the helmets. They recorded everything from the beginning, from the first very beginning of the response when they started from the center to the location of the bombing, saving the victims from under the rubble. All of this was documented and finally aired, and everyone watched this. Anyone who is interested in the Syrian context at that time watched it, how the Assad's regime and Russia and their allies, they were killing Syrians at that time by different kinds of weapons. And they started this campaign from beginning to uh, miss the credibility and credibility of the white helmets, and they started to make this white helmet volunteers. Me also included this by my name, that I was one of those who belong to a different intelligence or something conspiracies about me. All this campaign started to uh, discreditable the work that the white helmets were doing. How we dealt with this? Yeah, it was also a difficult issue, because they on their media, their and their campaigns, they had a target. What was the target? To legitimate white helmets volunteers and their centers and their equipment as targets for their killing machine. And this has happened. They targeted the white helmet centers and killed white helmet volunteers. And this said this on their in their campaign, that they targeted and killed tourists. This put pressure and put the volunteers in danger, and their families, their wives and children, because and mother and father and brother and sisters, and danger because of this campaign. How we dealt with this? We kept doing our job. We didn't pay attention that much for this. We cared about the work. That's why we didn't respond to them. and they kept saying and publishing and making campaigns everywhere and fake accounts. And there was a big investigation about this information and misinformation about the white helmets. Uh, uh, we kept working on the field. We kept saving people from under the rubble. And we can say, and this is for all humanitarian workers over the world, if they face something like this, from our experience as white helmets, from my experience as Ismail, who is white helmets from since 13 or 14 years, uh, keep working, and do not pay attention for this campaigns, because they wanted you to stop from working and helping the others.
Yes, as you mentioned, like humanitarian workers and humanitarian work was weaponized and politicized, despite the goal that they are more or less trying to help people. And white helmets did a great job in trying to do their best. Uh, so, like as you mentioned, white helmets became known locally and also worldwide for rescuing civilians under the bombardments and rubbles. What do you wish people outside Syria understood about the daily reality of these rescue operations?
Very good question. This always comes to my mind, that people around the world, and even Syrian people, they just watch the clips of rescuing the civilians from under the rubble. That's it. But behind this rescue operations, there was something big. As I mentioned earlier, that those volunteers were legitimate targets for the Assad regime in that time and its allies, and those their centers also were target. Uh, and this there was the strategy of the double tap strike. Also, as explained earlier, that it's a strategy used by regime to target the rescue teams after the first response to the location. And the aim of and they want to kill the big number of the rescue teams, and this has happened. We lost almost 300, more than 300 volunteers in this double tap strikes. What they need to know, they need those volunteers. They're putting their life at risk. Uh, they were targets to the killing machine, and after they responded and to the saving and transporting the wounded people to the hospitals and field hospital and medical points, during all this, they were targets. They were targets from the time they were in the shelter and the time they are in their houses, because they were targets. And all this journey, all this during their mission, they were targets. And what I think they need to know, that this is maybe as I understood, the same thing happened in Ukraine. They were also they target the medical uh, teams and rescue teams, and civil defense in the Ukraine also were targeted. The same scenario, that they killing the rescue teams. It was happened in the same playbook that they happened in Syria. Those humanitarian workers were targeted because they help and they bear with a witness of what's happening in Syria. And uh, this is what they need to know. They need to know it's not just rescuing the people from under the, just not just this clip. It's big, something bigger. And those guys who are really heroes, risked their lives from that time they volunteered and started working in the humanitarian field.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, across the wars, humanitarian rescue workers were targeted, health workers were targeted. Um, as part of the war, sadly, they're just trying to help other people and their people. So after a decade going through all this danger, volunteers sometimes they assume or see the death in front
Yeah.
of them. This could be their last day. They don't know. What gives you hope for Syria future? And what concerns you the most about the road ahead?
What gives me hope, Iman, that after 14 years of suffering, after 14 years of the humanitarian disaster that uh, in Syria since years, and those Syrians who are working around the clock since the 2011 until now, the people who I saw and I met during the years, how they work hard for to help and uh, help the others. This what gives me hope in Syria. Uh, it's not something simple and easy to keep working. And imagine that those humanitarian workers inside Syria who had everyone, I think of them had the chance to leave Syria and any time during the 14 years ago, but they stayed. And now they stayed and kept working and saved others. And now, after a fall of the regime, people are coming back to Syria. And those who helped over the past years, now they are working. They are working in rebuilding Syria and giving Syria hope. And this what gives me now. We are working without bombing, without uh, chemical attacks, without double tap strike, without we're working to improve our infrastructure. All the other people are working on other fields. This is what gives me hope. Syrians people gives me hope because they did something undescribable over the past years. White helmets, SAMs, Syrian Forum, many other work that was in Syria. Now it's in time without any, if I can say, without any. They have their space. They have their safety now. They can work more than before, and this is the time that we missed, and we this is the time that we were doing everything in the past years to reach time that we can work without any threat, without any fear about our lives, about the lives of other Syrians. This is what gives me hope. This is what gives me hope for Syria, and I have big hope that Syria uh, will rise again and will be great again, and we will be. And now uh, we're glad to receive anyone who can come to Syria and see Syria rebuilding and how the people now are starting over everything.
Thank you. This is such hopeful insights, and glad to hear that now. It's the situation is better, in terms of relief. People, lives, and volunteers are not threatened because of the war attacks or bombardments, and that's allow Syrian to rebuild their country and also with their partners. And thank you for inviting everyone. You have an invite, you should go and visit Syria and meet Ismail.
Yeah, come,
person. Yeah,
come.
that would be great. Also, like, now is the threats, the life-threatening events in the past are perhaps less or like no longer exist, but also what concerns you as you are, moving forward in this path with all this hope you are carrying.
Yeah, we will do anything. We will work again, and this hope will keep this hope. Wish that also safety to all people around the world, Sudan, Sudani people, all of them. And this hope now, after the years, uh, unbelievable, to be honest. We couldn't dream of these days after the fall of the regime. Now we have our freedom. We have our that humanitarian workers can work now different stage. Most of Syrians more focusing or building Syria. This is very good, and this gives hope to the victims of Syrian people. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And I hope for all the countries who are going through devastating time, Sudan, Yemen, Ukraine, all over the world, DRC, and all other countries, like they reach this point. Despite that, it's hard, like to fight for years and years. Like, every time you believe that's the end, and it takes 5, 6, 10, 15 years. That was a long way, but
It will
people.
end. People will get their freedom, will get their safety.
Yeah, yeah, we hope that. So for the young people who want to make the difference in humanitarian work, who we have some of them among our audience today, um, what what values, like, have guided your own journey that you could share with them and inspire them?
When I started in the humanitarian field in that time, I didn't know that I will be here talking to people, young people, about my experience. So I'm trying to say that any one of you, any one of the young people can be hero. Because believing in yourself, believing in the people rights and living and their freedom and their believing in those and working to help the others uh, will will push you to keep going and working. What also the feeling when you will get this feeling of helping the other, there's no such thing. No, there is no words can describe your feeling when you are helping others people. This uh, and I can say if you will experience and you will get this feeling of helping the others, will keep doing and will keep working in this, and you can after that you will this will be you will be one of those who cannot work in other places. You can work just in the humanitarian field helping the others. So anyone can be a hero. Your human nature will push you to help. You will not will be able to walk away while other communities, other people are suffering. So I can say in brief, anyone can be hero, and this when you work and help the others, you will get that feeling, the joy of happiness. No one can describe it. No words can be describe this feeling. After that, uh, you will not be able to work in any field, just the humanitarian field.
Glad that you have survived all this and you are here today telling the story, inspiring young people across the world about the experience and the value that uh, kept this work moving forward. And I would like to wrap up because we have like 15 minutes and allow the audience to ask some questions and the partners, people who worked with us on this, if they have any question. I'm seeing on the chat that Dr. Cave was talking about the moral injury, like where the volunteers feel that, as you mentioned, oh, we can't save everybody. There is no justice, and it's taking a long time, despite that they continue working. So, if you can share the experience, how uh, you perhaps as individuals and also like as a team went through this, and how did you manage or dealt with that situation?
Uh, I can say this happened many times that we couldn't save everyone. This has happened many times. It's not something like one incident. Many incidents happened, but I can say this was one of the incidents that happened in earthquake here in the north. Uh, we couldn't save everyone because the time was running out. We're losing their voices. We couldn't reach them, and how we can deal with this? It's not. No one can deal with this. It will be. No one can accept this feeling that we left and we couldn't save everyone. So uh, uh, it's difficult experience, to be honest. It's a very difficult experience that in time you did everything and everything, but you couldn't reach and you couldn't save as a team, as individual. It's very difficult and tough on your psychological and your life. Well, this will impact all your life.
Yeah. As you mentioned, like when you go through this, you will never be the same person. And this is
No, yeah,
definitely a heavy lift. And perhaps what kept people moving is the people, or like, others that you are able to help. Because you got to move forward and help more and more people as much as you can. Despite the burden, you would never be able to forget the people that you couldn't help. We
yeah.
have another question here. Through Aurora, you are connected to exceptional group of 100 plus humanitarians from around the world. What does being part of this community mean to you, especially at this important moment in Syria history?
It meant to me a lot, to be honest, to be part of this community after those years, after the 15 years or 14 years of working. It's very it means a lot of me to me. It's mean a lot connected to those. When I start in the humanitarian field, I didn't know that there are similar people around the world that their work and their time and their lives dedicated for the humanitarian work and to save other people. After the years, I learned, and now in 2024 and 2025 and 2026, now uh, I'm part of community, part of more than 100 exceptional, extraordinary people, people who are did everything maybe and risked their lives many hundreds of times, and they are lucky to be alive until now, maybe because each one of us maybe lost other colleagues in the journey to reach this. So it means a lot of me. It means a lot to me now. Exchanging the story, exchanging the experience, the different contexts. I have in Syria context, and in the Sudan there's different context, and other people from Ukraine, from Yemen, from Africa. So exchanging these ideas and experience will improve our role, will improve our experience. So it means a lot to me. It's me a lot. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. That's inspiring solidarity among the humanitarian actors or workers across uh, different countries and contexts from the world. And thank you, Feza, for the reminder that there is a nice documentary she watched on about the white helmets on Netflix, I guess.
Yeah.
People can also like enjoy watching that.
Yeah, anyone can watch this, and this is documentary. It was real and was filmed in Aleppo City before the siege.
All right. And we have some other questions that we could go through them quickly. Uh, So someone sending their salutes, and they're wondering how the white helmets had received training on safety and security for medical evacuation and all that stuff of relevant trainings. For example, humanitarian community led by UN, uh, RH coordinator structure in Syria. So if you can tell us how did those
We
volunteers build
yeah
capacity?
yeah the volunteers were trained by international organization that work in search and rescue. Akut, its name Akut. It's in Turkey, and we received many trainings, light and advanced, and advanced A, advanced B, in safety and security and search and rescue, also in first aid. And this happened in 2013, and in 2014, then those trainings that we moved from level to another level until we reached this now, the white helmets volunteers. And we have something called by itself department to train people, to train local people and staff from the community. It's our job to train the others how they can respond to emergencies and how they can deal with medical situations.
Yeah. Thank you for answering that. And there are two questions, I'll combine them, all about the danger that the volunteers had faced. Any casualties like were recorded or reported among your white helmets team?
Uh, we lost in 2013, since the establishment of the white helmets until the fall of the regime, we lost almost 322 or 23 of volunteers. We lost them. Most of them were killed by the double tap strike that I explained earlier. The double tap strike. Uh, myself, I was targeted many times, was injured. Uh, my team back in Aleppo, the same team that we were mobilizing inside Aleppo city, four of them, they were killed in 1 week during the siege. Ayman, Hassan, and Muhammad and Khalid, all of them were killed in 1 week by the strikes of the regime at that time. So uh, our fallen here is now more than 320.
That's so sad, and definitely every life counts. Sorry for all the losses. And also, we have another question about the mitigation, risk mitigation, and compliance to international humanitarian law. Did you felt like what this helping, and where you were able to do also like risk assessment or risk mitigation?
This mitigation and back in since the beginning of the white helmets, we didn't know the such things in that time. But after working and getting the experience, we started to know about those instructions and procedures. We start to learn them and apply them until after the fall of the regime. Now we have teams that now flying from country to country to get experience to apply those procedures and to mitigate the risks and mitigate and to help to save and make the things and make the any context that might happen, Syria, natural disaster or anything, to save more people and to prevent disasters and prevent any consequences of any disaster, natural disaster or any disaster.
Yeah, I appreciate this perspective. As you mentioned, you started, people were not really trained, but they had the motive to help their people. And as you were going, you learned more and you invest in training, building the capacity, doing the risk mitigation to prevent more lives. By this, we reach to the end of our episode today, and happy to do the closing. Ismail, do you have like a last word? What last word before I close the episode today?
Thank you, Iman. Thank you, Aurora. Thank you, the team, everyone, for this chance to share my experience with you. Hoping that I will have other experience from other my colleagues in Aurora and all people. Thank you for those who listen to us, and I hope that safety for all people from all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ismail, for your honesty, for trusting us with your story. And this first session came together through the care of many people who are here with us today. And I want to shout out and call them. Thank you, Dr. Kavi Khoshnad and the Peace Lab at the School of Public Health, Yale, for giving us this series home. To Mary Shostak, who connected all those partners together and made this possible. And our colleagues at Aurora, Annie Babian, Alexei Medvedev, and Colin Thomas Denson, and Merla Bruza Agotis, and Fayhad Allah. Stay tuned, and thank you again. And next episode would be with Abdul Qadir Adan from Somalia. We hope you join us again on July 14, same time. Stay tuned and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.